This is the gospel according to the IRS, Breaking Points and Church Financial Updates. And now, here's the authority, Dr. Michael Chitwood and Breaking Points.
Hey, I'm Michael Chitwood. This is Breaking Points, and we're ready to take up a brand new thing that kind of ties to the other subjects in the other series that we've done. But what's important is you need to get your pad and pen out right now because I've got some breaking hot material for you right now, so to speak. Here we go. I want to talk to you about a subject that ties right directly to love offerings, and that's 1099 forms. And I know what you're going to say, well, I've heard 1099s. Well, no, you haven't. You haven't heard true 1099s. You've heard a false teaching of 1099s. I'm going to give you the facts because I'm the best and I know what I'm talking about. Now, I'm just saying that jokingly, but I am pretty good at this because I've done a lot of this. It's my training that I've had from my great father. How do I like to talk about is 1099 forms. Let's start with Section 61. Make a note, Section 61. And you can pull this up out of my entire manual. It's the Church National Reference Manual. You can pull that out. And it's on page 133. If you have that with you, you may want to take a look at it. It's paragraph number 3. And it says this: what the compensation is called, what the compensation is computed, and the form of payment are immaterial. And what that means is whatever you write on the bottom of the check, if it doesn't mean anything, you write it down there, it's just immaterial. In other words, you could put love offering down there, but if it's not a true non-taxable love offering, you've got to determine if it's a taxable love offering or if it's a non-taxable love offering. Now, we've been over that. That's why I'm kind of giving that to you fast because I don't want to waste one moment of our time together today. What's important is this. Number 2, write this down on your pad, pen. Here we go. Anyone who renders a service must receive a 1099 form. Anyone. In parentheses there, make this note. Any individual, anyone, any individual one that renders a service must receive a 1099 form. Now, many of you have always heard that you didn't have to give a 1099 form if it was under $600. Well, that's really a false teaching, because there's many phases to that before you get to the $600 rule. Most people discount that and they jump right to it and say, well, how much you got to give a 1099 for? $600. That is true, but it's also you have to do 2 things before you get to the $600 rule. We call it phase 1 and phase 2. So with this in mind, I'd like to take you to anyone who renders a service must receive a 1099 form. Let me give you 6 categories. 6 categories that without any question you must give a 1099 form to. The first thing I'd like to do is to tell you that category number 1 is evangelists, teachers, guest speakers, and anyone that's offering a service in that category. Let's take an example. You have a guest speaker to come in, a revivalist, an evangelist, or some pastor from another church that's coming to your church to hold a series of meetings. The first thing we do after he ministers, or maybe before, we'll take up a love offering. Remember that word, love offering? So we say, it's time to receive our love offering for our visiting evangelist. We take an envelope and we put the money in there, and then at the end of the service we write him one check for all of the money that came in and we mark it love offering. Your job is to determine, is it a taxable love offering or is it a non-taxable love offering? That's up to you to decide to know what to put in there. If you don't have the knowledge to do that, you're going to do it wrong, you're going to be illegal, and your house is going to be out of order, and you're going to wind up in jail. So with that in mind, what I want to do is to note that evangelists, teachers, guest speakers all qualify for a 1099 form. Category number 2, anybody that's a professional, a CPA, an attorney, a bookkeeping firm, anybody that's a professional qualifies for a 1099 form. And I know what you may be thinking, well, the board voted that we didn't have to do that. I don't care what your board voted for because I know what they know about this subject, and it's absolutely nothing, so to speak. Now, I love board members. I think they're great. But I also think that board members have a lack of knowledge. And you know what happens if you have a lack of knowledge in your life on any subject. You could be destroyed. And I don't want to see that happen because God's called me to protect the church. And I love my job more than anything. What could be better than taking care of a man of God who's always taking care of so many others? I love my job. Category number 3, independent contractors. Anybody that paints the church, plumbs the church, repairs the church, anybody that's an independent contractor, you must give them a 1099 form. Category number 4 is any rent that you paid out to any individual. For renting a facility, that goes on a 1099 form too. And the last category there, beware that you may be required to give nursery workers a 1099 form or maybe a W-2 form. We have had some Department of Labor jump on churches that pay nursery workers because it's a regular, consistent position. 6 categories. You got to know about 1099s. You got to know about love offerings. Till next time, I'm Michael Chitwood. I'll see you on Breaking Points.
Breaking Points gives you the latest IRS updates and tax law. Pastor, if the IRS came to your church today, what would you say? If you really want your house of worship in order, call 1-800-345-9117.